Okay, so this video is going over tables 5.9 to 5.11 of Chapter 5 of Grammar in Context. If you want to follow along in the book, you can open up to page 171. I'm actually skipping over the table of 5.9 because it just introduces all of these quantity expressions, which I'm calling modifiers. So if you open up to 171, and if you want to make notes on the table on 171, that might help you. The other option that you might want to do is to go to Blackboard and pull up this PowerPoint and just print out the pages that have the tables on them, and you can paste them into your book so that you have a copy of this, or you can just copy it down from here by pausing the video. Anything is good, but I think that this will help you. All right, so the point of this of these sections is talking about the difference between some of the modifiers that we use with plural and singular count and non-count nouns. So this first table is about the difference between some, any, a, and no. Okay, and these are common mistakes that ESL students make with these. So let's go through these each one at a time and talk about how and when each one is used. So the first thing, let's just go through the meaning and the use of each one of these. So the first thing is some. And what some means is an amount or number of something. Now, it's used only in affirmative sentences. That means sentences that are positive, that don't have a no in them. Okay, and it's used with plural count nouns, and it's also used with non-count nouns. So we'll look at some examples of this later. Now, a and an are articles. They're called indefinite articles, and they're used when mentioning someone or something new, and also with generalizations, which we've talked about before. Now, one of the things you can notice here about a and an is that they're used in affirmatives, negatives, and questions, but they're only used with singular count nouns, meaning that they're not used with plural count nouns or with non-count nouns at all. Our next one is any. And any means an amount or number of something. You'll notice that any has the same meaning as some, but look at how it's used differently. So any is not used in the affirmative, but it's used with negatives, and it's used with questions. Okay, and you'll notice that some is not used with negatives and questions. Just like some, it's used with plural count nouns and also with non-count nouns. Okay, and then let's look at no. Now, no means not any. Okay, and it is used in affirmative sentences, and I will explain that. You'll see that later on. But it can also be used in questions. It can be used with count nouns, both plural and singular, and also with non-count nouns. Moving on to this table here. Now, I left out the information here on no, but we can review this in class. But let's go through the other ones. So here, the first three ones are with the indefinite article a. So I want a book, I don't want a book, and do you want a book? So the first one is an affirmative sentence with a singular count noun. The second one is a negative sentence, I don't want a book, with a singular noun. And do you want a book is a question with a singular noun, count noun. So you notice that the similarity in all three of these is that whenever we use a, we have to have a singular count noun. Now, here we're going to look now at plural count nouns. So I have I want some books, I don't want any books, and do you want any books? So in the first one, some is used with an affirmative sentence. In the second one, any is used with a negative, and then in the question we also have any as well. And then the last group is all non-count. So we have I want some money, I don't want any money, and do you want any money? Okay, so in this case, some is used with the affirmative, and any is used with the negative and the question. So let's look at practice for this. We'll start off here with the difference between some and any. The thing that we need to remember about the difference between these is that some is used for affirmatives and any is only used for negatives and questions. So let's look at our first example. There's blank milk in the fridge. Now milk is a non-count noun, but that's not important here. Remember, the difference between some and any is that some is used in the affirmative and any is with negative or questions. So this sentence is affirmative. So the answer would be, there's some milk in the fridge. So here we go. This bottle hasn't got blank water. So in this case, is this an affirmative sentence? Is this a question? Or is this a negative sentence? It's a negative sentence, and we know that we use any with negative sentences. So this bottle hasn't got any water. So here we go. My mother has got blank bracelets. Is this affirmative, negative, or a question? My mother has got some bracelets. My aunt didn't put blank keys in her bag. Affirmative, negative, or a question? My aunt didn't put any keys in her bag. Are there blank theaters in this city? Affirmative, negative, or a question? And this one's a question. Are there any theaters in this city? Okay. So then let's talk about the difference between some versus a and an. So we know that some is going to be used with both count and non-count nouns in the affirmatives, and we know that a and an are going to be used only with singular count nouns. They can be used in the affirmative, in negatives, in the questions. But the important thing that we need to do is ask ourselves two questions. One, is the noun singular or plural? And is the noun count or non-count? So let's look at this one. I want blank pancake. So pancake, is it singular or plural? In this case it's singular. Okay? Is it count or non-count? In this case it's count. So we're going to use a. I want a pancake. So he likes blank people. So people, is that singular or plural? And that's plural. Is it count or non-count? Well, we know that non-counts can't be plural. But because it's plural, it has to be some. He likes some people. Are you wearing blank ring? Okay, so this one is a question, and so we want to ask ourselves with ring, is it singular or plural? In this case it's singular. Is it count or non-count? In this case it's count, so it has to be a. Oh, whoops, I forgot to fix this one, but it should be, are you wearing a ring? Here, my brother-in-law is blank artist. So we look at artist, count or non-count. In this case it's count. Singular or plural. In this case it's singular. So my brother-in-law is an artist. Please don't give me blank present. So we look at present, count or non-count. In this case it is count. Singular or plural. In this case it's singular. So it's, please don't give me a present. Okay? So moving on to the next table, and this is on page 173, and this is the difference between a lot of, much, and many. Now let's take a look at the meaning of these ones. So we look at a lot of, and we see that a lot of means a large amount or number. So it can be used in affirmative, negatives, and questions. It can only be used with plural count nouns and also with non-counts. Well, let's look at much and many and see how they're different. So much means a large amount, and it can only be used in negatives and questions with non-count nouns. And many is a large number, and it can be used in affirmatives, negatives, and questions, but only with plural count nouns. So it's easy to see the difference between much and many. Much is used with non-count, and many is used with count. But what about the difference between much and a lot of? Well, we can see that that a lot of can be used with affirmatives and can also be used with count nouns, but much can't be used with affirmatives and can't be used with count nouns. So the difference between many and a lot of is that many can only be used with count, but a lot of can also be used with non-count. So let's compare these two, a lot of versus much. So we have blank oranges. So if we look at, this is an affirmative statement, and oranges is a plural count noun, so this has to be a lot of. We don't have blank time. So this is a negative statement. Now both of them can be used with a negative. So then we look at time, and time is non-count, which means that we can use either one. We don't have a lot of time, or we don't have much time. Do you drink blank water? So here we have a question. Both of them can be used in questions. We have water, which is a non-count noun. Both of them can be used for non-count nouns. So this one is, do you drink a lot of water or do you drink much water? Both of those work. Here we go, I have blank experience. So here we have a affirmative statement. Experience is a non-count noun, but we know that only a lot of works in affirmative statements. Here's our next one. How blank money do you make? Now this is something I forgot to mention on the earlier chart, but it's in the book on page 173. When we have how followed by one of these modifiers or quantifiers, we have to use much or many. So if we look at money, money is non-count, so it's how much money do you make? And then, so finally here we want to look at the difference between many and much. So remember that the important difference here is that many is for count and much is for non-count. So do you know blank words in English? If we look at the word words, we can say that that one is a count noun. So it has to be, do you know many words in English? He didn't eat blank meat. Meat, count or non-count? In this case it's non-count, so he didn't eat much meat. There isn't blank butter in the fridge. So we look at butter. Is it count or non-count? In this case it's non-count, so there isn't much butter in the fridge. How blank eggs did the hens lay? If we look at eggs, we can see that this is count. So this is going to be how many eggs did the hens lay. And then finally, I cannot see blank stars in the sky tonight. We look at stars. We know that that's count. So it's going to be, I cannot see many stars in the sky tonight. All right, we'll do some of the exercises in the book. Bring any questions that you have to class. Take care.